Hello everybody, Brandon here. So sorry we have to start like this, but this was the only way I could get OBS to fucking acknowledge this goddamn game is to do just straight desktop capture, and I can't switch it while I'm in game, which is irritating. So, okay, good. Music's off. So yeah, this is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now, I know Episode 1 is not exactly beloved by Star Wars fans, and pod racing is sometimes, a bit of a joke. Here, actually, I'm going to go back. We're going to show off all the racers here. So this is on a fully completed save. So I have all the racers, and I have a bunch of stuff installed in my pod. So yeah, all my stats are going to be higher and stuff like that. So Anakin, Team Toe Pagaliles, which I kind of like his pod. I like that it's like I don't know what you'd call that shape, but like the cockpit I think looks pretty cool. Sebulba, who, gotta be honest, I find his pod a little boring. Same thing with Rats Tyrell. I think his is really boring. Aldar Beto, which his has a bit of a more interesting shape than some of the other ones. Mahonic, don't really like his. Arc Bumpy Roos has pretty interesting looking engines. I really don't like Juan Sandage. Mars Guo is fine. The rear part of the engines does look kind of cool. Ebendicott, I kind of like the shape. I like the fins. Dud Bolt, that just looks like electric shavers. It really just looks like electric shavers. Gazgano, it's fine, I guess. Clyde Holdfast, I also find his kind of boring. I really don't like Elan Mach because his engine's just like kind of fat. Neva Key is cool because he's I think he's the only one who has engines that are behind the cockpit. It gives him a very different aesthetic as compared to pretty much every other pod racer. This motherfucker sort of has like dud bolts. They're sort of just like electric shaver looking engines. Bull's Roar. Same thing with this asshole. He's got like fat looking engines. Don't like his very much. Odie Mandrell. They're fine, I guess. Fud Sang. I don't know. I guess they're okay. It's not really my favorite. Ben Quadraneros is cool because he's got like, again, his is something that nobody else has. He's got the 4 engines. Excuse me. Slide Paramita. Pretty simple. Kind of like a thinned down, more like simple design. Toy Dampener. These are weird names, by the way. I know I'm just kind of saying them like they're ordinary things, but they're a little silly. I don't know. Those are fine, I guess. Now, the reason I play as this guy is not because I like the look of his pod, and I think he's hideous in particular. I mean, ugh, look at that face. But his pod is really fucking good. So we're just going to play a couple of courses here. They're not terribly long. We're going to skip the little cutscenes. I did turn the music off because I don't want to get fucking copyright struck for the goddamn background music. But yeah, so since this is like the very first course you can play, obviously my pod is like well over-equipped. So what you can do is you can boost your pod, but it starts overheating, and different pods have different levels of heat management. And while you're boosting, your pod's temp is something you want to keep an eye on. Otherwise, your engines will burst into flames, which isn't necessarily a death sentence, but it could cause serious fucking problems. So yeah, you just want to like cool off on the boost when you max out the time. Now, one thing I really liked about this game when I was a kid is just like the sense of speed. It feels like you're going really fucking fast, and sometimes that's actually a little bit of an issue because I'm not exactly a racing game guy. I've noticed that in this series, except for the first-person shooters that we've covered, every time I play a game, I'm like, this genre is not my favorite. I hate it. It sucks and it's garbage and I hate it. Gamers, I hate platformers. I hate racing games. Anyway. But yeah, I'm not really a racing game guy. Occasionally I get into them. but that's very rare, and I don't tend to buy racing games, so it basically never happens. The only reason I bought this was because I was pretty big on Star Wars when I was young, like even as a kid. It's weird. I have like kind of a weird relationship with Star Wars Episode 1 in my memory, because as a kid, the biggest thing I remembered was the lightsaber fight at the end of the movie with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. But like, you know, like as a kid, that was like the cool shit that I wanted to see. So I didn't really notice how actually terrible a lot of the movie was, and I didn't even remember a lot of parts of the movie. But this game's just, you know, it's just fun racing. It's not too complicated. Some of the tracks are pretty fun, and there's a whole variety of planets you get to race on, you know, because it's Star Wars. This one's a really short track. But yeah, this game's pretty damn fun still. I bought it, I don't know when, probably a couple months ago from when I recorded this video. And I just sat down and I played it for like 2 hours and beat all the tracks. It's not like the longest game in the world by any means, but you know, I just had such a warm wave of nostalgia over me while I was playing it. Because I can picture like where I would have been playing this as a kid. I would have been in my townhouse in Montrose, La Crescenta, California, and would have been you know, sitting in the living room. The rest of the family probably behind me somewhere doing whatever they were doing. Just yeah, see, wow, that was fast. It was less than a minute. Mostly because, again, my pod is extremely OP for playing these beginner tracks. But I'm just giving a little sample of each of these games. We're not here to prove anything or, you know, do anything other than give like a nice little sample of each game we show off. Because aside from just kind of wallowing in my own nostalgic feelings while doing this series, one thing I would like is if people did watch these videos and maybe thought about trying some of these old games. Because, you know, just because a game's old doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, and a lot of old games can still hold up really well. Like, aside from the graphics, there's nothing really wrong with this game, you know? It just looks old because it is old. Oh, shit. Clipped one of my engines off. Whoa! Yeah, it's not too punishing to die in this game, unless you're on, like, a really... Oh, what the fuck just happened? I swear to God, I blinked and then I didn't have an engine. I'm gonna have to rewatch that in the footage to figure out what the fuck happened. Anyway, I'm still well ahead of my fucking competition. Because, again, this is, like, one of the beginner tracks. It's not too hard. There is one track in this that's really hard. Well, I don't want to say really hard. I'm sure other people who are good at racing games would laugh that shit off, but you know, for me, it's tough because it's the kind of thing where it's like you're on a track that's elevated, and if you fall to the lower part of the track, which is very easy to do because you're going so fast and you know you're trying to stay ahead of your competition. If you fall to the lower part, you basically lose automatically because you cannot catch up again, and it's really frustrating. And obviously, each lap you run the risk of falling off. So I remember having a huge amount of trouble with that when I was young. I didn't have as much trouble with it this time through. But aside from that, this game's really, you know, it's not difficult. And it's a lot of fun. It's not a long amount of fun, but, you know, goddamn. Yeah, I guess I'm going so fast that when I shift height, like on a short scale, it just pops one of the fucking engines open. I'm sorry. I really do apologize for all my, like, sniffing. I gotta get in the habit of not doing that while facing the fucking microphone. What am I, Dark Side Phil? Am I some kind of inconsiderate fat pig? I'm sorry. I don't mean to bring other YouTubers up, but God. Anyway, whoa! Yep, that didn't work out. I think that might be an inherent weakness of this pod. I feel like some of them have different levels of durability, because I feel like this one breaks a little easy compared to some of them. But it's got really good like handling and speed and acceleration. The acceleration's great, and its boost is pretty good too, which I like to boost as often as I can on the straightaways to maintain as much distance between me and the other racers as possible. And sometimes you need to boost to make it across certain jumps, which kind of pisses me off, because sometimes I don't notice until it's like a little too late, because I'm going so fucking fast. God, every time there's like that small shift in elevation, pops my fucking engine off. Anyway, I think if you play as one of the pods that has like a bigger set of engines, you don't break as easily. But anyway, this game's a lot of fun. It's, you know, it's nothing too complicated, and it might seem primitive. Well, I mean, it is primitive compared to modern racing games. I mean, I played a Forza game in the last 10 years. I don't remember which one it was, but it was gorgeous, you know? And then I look at this, and I'm like, well, I mean, even at the time, it probably wasn't very, very good looking, but as a kid, I feel like I was a lot less judgmental of, graphics of games, because I played games that were definitely old even by the time I was a kid. You know, like when I was playing let's see, what's a good example? I don't know, like when I was playing Doom, you know, I was at least fucking like 6 or 7 years old. It had obviously been out for a while. I was born in 92, and Doom was what, 93? Unless I'm remembering that wrong. I think it was 93, so it's like, you know, I wasn't, you know, there were certainly higher tech games out by the time I was playing Doom. Like Quake. Quake was out by the time I was playing Doom, probably. Though I gotta be honest, I don't have a clear memory of, like, the first time I played Doom. It's one of those things where it's like I always sort of just remember it existing and never remember a time where I did not know what Doom was. Same thing with Diablo 1, actually. I just have, like, very clear memories of always having known that it existed, which is kind of an interesting little phenomenon. It's just, like, so ingrained in my brain that I don't have a clear origin point for it. But, yeah, I might talk about Diablo in this series as well. Diablo 1, specifically. Diablo 1, well, any thoughts I have about that I'll save for a video if I do one. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, this game's just, like, fun. Part of the fun, which, unfortunately, once you beat it, that part vanishes unless you start over again, is unlocking the new pod racers. Usually when you beat a guy that you don't have at the beginning of the game, you unlock him. Like, each track has a favored racer, and that's the guy you unlock for beating the track. And that's fun, you know, like a nice little, like, ooh, get to see new pods, and maybe one of them will be really cool, and I'll switch to that one. I mean, honestly, this could be the kind of game where if they made, like, a nice, modern, beautiful, high-tech version of this, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I know Episode 1 doesn't have a great reputation, and sort of by extension neither does pod racing, but there's nothing really wrong with it on its own. Although, if I do remember correctly, it does take up kind of a considerable amount of Episode 1, which is probably why people don't like it so much. It's like, cool, I didn't know this was like a movie about a race. But anyway, yeah, just on its own, you know, in the absence of the context of being in the first film, or Episode 1, I shouldn't say the first film. Oh, look at this, I lapped everybody. Hey, assholes. In my fast fucking pod. I mean, another fun thing about this game is that since a lot of the tracks are so short, or, you know, can be short, depending on your pod's equipment, you get this good sense of, like, you can pop in and do a track, and then, you know, you don't have to keep playing. You can just do a track every now and then, you know, work your way through the game. Yeah, there we go. This game is definitely a lot of fun. I recommend it to anybody who has a tolerance for racing games. Like if you despise racing games, you probably still won't like it. I don't like racing games for the most part, but you know, probably the fact that I played this as a kid does influence my ability to enjoy it a little bit. But it's fun, you know. It's a good time. And again, the fact that you've got, you know, things to unlock and you get credit rewards for racing so you can buy you know, parts for your pod. Like that's fun. That's good shit. So yeah, I mean that's probably about it for this one. I don't really have a whole lot more to say here. So let's exit out, and then I think we can switch there. Hopefully that didn't fuck up the whole recording, but I'm just going to trust what I'm seeing on OBS. So, yeah, if you guys ever played this before you saw this video, let me know in the comments. When did you play it? Did you play it, you know, around the time of release, or did you pick it up on Steam, you know, way after the fact? Or I think it's also on Good Old Games. The Steam release works fine. If you're worried about that, I'm, you know, running Windows 10. And this isn't exactly like a huge top-of-the-line beefy-ass machine or anything, but it's pretty good. You know, it's good enough for me anyway. So, I have no issues running the game. I didn't need to get any, like, third-party stuff to make it run better or anything. And I don't even know if there is. But, yeah, if you buy it on Steam, you should be safe. So I can at least attest to that. You know, if you're, like, a racing fan, please tell me that this game... just tell, or let me start that over, because I don't know that my thoughts were complete before I was spitting them out of my mouth like a fucking caveman. If you've played this game, how do you feel it compares to other racing games? Because to me, I don't know what to like in a racing game. I just like going fast, I guess. Like I'm not the most sophisticated person when it comes to racing games. I don't know what the sophisticated racing gamer would look for in a racing game. For all I know, this is too dumb and simple to be a good racing game, you know. But whatever, it's fun. It's just like, you know, goofy good time. It doesn't have to be all complex and deep. I'm of the opinion that not every game has to strive to be a masterpiece. I know there are people who, like, almost will refuse to play anything that's not, like, a masterpiece, you know. And... I mean, on the one hand, I guess I sort of understand that, you know, to an extent, because games are expensive. Depending, of course, you know, I don't think Racer will set you back too much nowadays, but you know, like from the perspective of a person who has grown up and lived most of his life with not very much money, I can sort of understand that attitude of like not wanting to just buy every dumb thing. But I have room for dumb things in my life every so often. And I feel like Racer is one of those things where, you know, it's not the best game in the world. It's not super complex. It's not like a gem hidden in a sea of, you know, shit or anything. It's fine. It's perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. But this is an example of a game that I enjoyed as a kid, and a game that I still do enjoy, which is not always the case in this Tripping the Light Nostalgic series. Sometimes I liked the game as a kid and don't like it now. Sometimes I didn't like it as a kid and I still don't like it now. And it's entirely possible that some of the games that I will get to, providing I can get all of them to work comfortably with the fucking recording, it's entirely possible that some of those will, you know, have grown to be better in my old age. Like maybe I didn't like them as a kid, but I love them now. But we'll see, case by case. So anyway, yeah, I guess I'm doing that thing again where I just kind of drag a video out for no reason. So I'll shut up now. Hopefully you all had a, you know, nice time watching this. If you didn't, then I'm sorry. But you know, leave a like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And I got a good idea of what I think it's going to be, but I'm not going to say anything just yet. So I will see you in the next video.